Planet Dolan.
From getting into a horrible car accident to encountering crazy people, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about more scary things we experienced as kids. I'm Hellbent, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by Burping Giraffes. When Dolan was 11, his class went on a school field trip which had two parts. A history museum about his town, and then they would go to a camp and stay a few nights. At the museum, a man walked up to his teacher who became very nervous, at least from what Dolan could tell. The man walked off after a minute or two of arguing with the teacher, and they continued as usual. They went to their camp and stayed the first night, but something scraped on their cabin doors. Come next morning, there was a shattered window in the mess hall and a big red pentagram on the side of the building. It wasn't blood, just paint. The counselors told everyone that whoever did it would be sent home. And then that same man ran out of the woods with a naked baby and 3 other people with plastic Nerf rifles screaming a weird language. They then proceeded to run off, and Dolan and his class got the fuck out of there. Number 9 was submitted by Rosebloom101. When Honeybits was 10, her grandpa gave her a glass baby doll. She didn't want to be rude, so she accepted the gift. When Honeybits got home, she put the doll on the floor in her closet, but when she went to sleep, she had this dream where the doll was covered in blood and holding a knife. When she woke up, the doll was missing, but when she went to her parents' bedroom, the doll was next to the bed. So Honeybits took the doll and locked it in the closet. Then she called her friend, who came over and looked at the doll. She told Honeybits to lock her door at night and then ran out of the door with the doll. The next day, she gave the doll back and told Honeybits that everything will be fine, and ever since then her friend refused to tell her what had happened when she looked at the doll. Number 8 was submitted by Neveruseless. When Andymations was 8 years old, she spent some time with her cousins. They decided to take a walk through this isolated community, surrounded by lots of trees with a great big pond in the center. It was a very pleasant walk until they came upon this old white abandoned house. Her cousins told her that this house had been abandoned for years. The door was sealed, and so were all the windows, except for one of them. Her cousins told her that the house was rumored to be haunted. Andymations told them it wasn't haunted, and then they dared her to go in. So, trying to be tough, she climbed through the open window. Once inside, Andymations' hair stood up. She was facing the wall of a hallway with a room on each end. Through the cracks of the door, she could see old, colorful pieces of furniture and dark shadows moving around too. Turning towards the wall, Andymations saw blood start to coat it as these horrible faces seemed to stretch across the wall like they were trying to burst through a rubber barrier. She heard her cousin scream for her to get out of there. Just then, everything went silent. So silent her ears rang. Her cousin started screaming again, and when Andymations had turned to her right to make her exit, there was a huge black figure with very deep red skin and black eyes. His clothes were torn and black. Her heart dropped. She quickly leapt out of the window like she was trying to fly. Andymations scrambled up to see the figure leaning over with his hands resting on the window. All of them ran all the way back home. Andymations kept turning back to see if it was following them, until her and her cousins ran straight to their mom, screaming. They all prayed together. Andymations never saw that demon thing again, but ever since then she's been absolutely petrified of ghosts. Number 7 was submitted by That Reddit Guy 123. The scariest thing Pringle ever witnessed was something outside of his bedroom window. Because he's into paranormal stuff, Pringle thought,
"Oh, maybe it's a banshee. I guess I'm gonna die."
But then he fell asleep, and his dream was that he died and went to hell. After about an hour, Pringle woke up and saw eyes all around his room. He blinked, and they also blinked, and then a demon thing whispered something in his ear. Pringle was pretty sure it was in Latin, and that's his tale of sleep paralysis. Number 6 was submitted by MargoDCroukamp. Doopy and her friend were going to her apartment to watch some movies and to just chill when a drunk guy started yelling at them. They just ignored him and decided to walk a bit faster since they were halfway there. Suddenly, the dude started running after them like a sprinting zombie. They were so freaked out they ran faster than they thought was possible and managed to get to the gate. They unlocked it, got inside, and locked it again. The guy still wouldn't stop trying to get over the gate, so Doopy, being the tougher girl, threw bricks at him. It scared her so fucking much she couldn't sleep. Number 5 was submitted by HaileyMotionless21. Back on the night before Shima's 8th birthday, she was at a party for one of the daughters of her mom's friend. They stayed for a while, and around 9 p.m. or so, her mother wanted to go home. The friend of Shima's mom offered to take them home along with her daughter and a friend from the party. They left around 10:30 and had only been driving 5 minutes when everything went black. Before she opened her eyes, Shima heard screams. There was shattered glass and blood, and her mom was crying and asking if she was okay. Being 8, Shima had no idea what was going on. Her mom told her to not look around and not to move. The next thing Shima remembered was looking in the back seat at their friend from the party and seeing her arms ripped open and mangled with large glass shards. She was covered in blood. Once the police and paramedics arrived, they were told to get out of the car and go toward the ambulance. Shima looked at the wreck and saw the van crushed. On the side their friend from the party was sitting and a red pickup truck in the trees. The driver who hit them went through a red light and had a blood alcohol content of 0.10. The officer also said that the driver came pretty close to hitting the gas tank for the car and that they all could have died. Number 4 was submitted by ShadowBeast423. When Dolan's brother was 10, his family had recently moved into a house and had lived there for a few months. It was the first time he didn't have to share a room with his brother. At first, Dolan's brother would leave the door to his room open at night and just ignore the creepy dark hallway until he fell asleep. One night, though, he woke up and looked at the wall of the hallway, and there on the wall was a white figure that looked kind of like a woman in a nightgown. He asked,
"Mom?"
but got no reply. It just stood there and didn't move. Because he had a deathly fear of ghosts, for some reason, Dolan's brother thought the best idea was to walk into it head on to see what it was. After doing that, he realized that it was moonlight perfectly projecting itself into a human figure onto the wall. Even though it was only moonlight, he still keeps his bedroom door closed to this day because he doesn't want to see that hallway at night anymore. It also didn't help recently when his neighborhood friends had told him that they'd seen the same kind of thing in their houses in the past couple of years. Number 3 was submitted by Uzielperez2002. About a year ago, during summer, Melissa would constantly get up late at night to watch TV downstairs. But to do this, she had to wait for her parents to fall asleep. Her family consists of her dad, mom, and 2 brothers. Her older brother was sleeping in the same room as Melissa, and her dad, mom, and little brother were all in the other room. So, one night when they were asleep, she sneaked downstairs. But when she reached the bottom, Melissa saw what she thought was her dad watching TV with his back turned to her. She went back upstairs, but as she went up, Melissa noticed that her parents' bedroom door was open. Her mom always wanted it closed, so she decided to go close it and noticed her dad was in the room, sleeping next to her mom. So that brings up the question, who the fuck was the person downstairs? Melissa quickly woke up her parents, and when they went downstairs to take a look, no one was there. Number 2 was submitted by SkeleLizard24. When Tulip was little, he used to be afraid of his closet, but he was always too lazy to shut the closet door. But one night, he had a hard time sleeping. So he had his eyes half shut, trying to sleep, and then out of the closet came an arm. It was kind of greenish with a big hand, and it was reaching for him. Tulip opened his eyes, thinking he was dreaming, and it retreated into the closet. He freaked out, but kept opening and closing his eyes. The hand reached the side of his bed and kept coming, even when his eyes were open. Tulip screamed loudly, and the arm curled back into the closet. He spent the rest of the night sleeping in the bathroom. What's the scariest thing I experienced as a kid? As a kid, I always loved amusement parks. The rides, the food, the prizes, the weirdos. It's a good time all around. Problem is, as a kid, you don't get to ride all the really fun stuff. You're just a little bit too short. One day, I had enough of all the dumb rules, so I snuck past the guy who checked your height and got into line on a really big ride. So about this ride, it wasn't anything too fancy. It just shot you up in the air about 200 stories, then slowly let you down. I was really excited. It was the tallest ride there. You could see the entire city from the top. It was gonna be beautiful. So I got on, pulled the bar over me, and just got ready for a good time. It was gonna be exciting. Turns out the ride was a little bit more exciting than I bargained for. As I got in and it shot me up into the air, I noticed that the restraint wasn't quite restraining me. As the ride shot up into the air, I was slowly slipping out from under the restraint, and I just had to hold on for dear life, hoping that I wouldn't slip out. Of course, nobody noticed my struggle, as we were already about 100 stories in the air. Nobody was paying attention anyways. So there I was, holding on for dear life as the ride shot up and down and up and down and up and down. Then the ride finally hit the top, where the person next to me noticed I was having a little bit of trouble staying alive. The sheer terror kinda took away from my enjoyment of the beautiful view ahead of me. Then finally, the ride took one last drop, and this drop was fast. I was holding onto the bar, and thankfully the person next to me had a grip on my t-shirt, making sure I don't fly out of the chair. When the ride finally hit the ground, I thanked the man who saved my life, and then went off to the arcade to go play some video games. I had enough excitement for that day. Huge thanks for the folks over on our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What is the scariest experience you ever had while camping? Let us know on the Reddit page linked below, and you might be featured in a future countdown. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Until they turned red. She ended up getting fired because she twisted the ear of one of his classmates so hard that she ripped a little bit of skin under the ear until it bled. All this because he forgot his notebook. His notebook!